Welcome to this episode of The Secret To, the podcast where we speak to industry leaders to give us their hidden success formulas across film, TV, music and FMCG industries, all brought to you by Paradise, the agency for entertaining brands. And I'm your host, Emma Bartholomew. Today we're exploring something very specific and very delicious, and that is the secret to the frozen cheesecake phenomenon, created by Pleese, who, with the tagline, "It's not ice cream," have brought us the world's first frozen cheesecake. Now, I'm having trouble already because I'm going to see if I can get through this episode without drooling at the thought of cheesecake, as I welcome Pleese founder Joe Moruzzi. Joe, welcome to The Secret To.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I can see product around me, and I'm like, I want to eat it, but we're gonna have a chat first. So, I think it would be really interesting to start with how you come about realizing that you can make a yummy cheesecake. Starting with that, and how does the creation of something delicious lead to, and I can also make money out of this delicious thing and create a brand which has come on an amazing journey, which we're going to explore today, obviously. But let's start with the product itself. Where did that come from? Well,
in all honesty, I'm sat here by accident, right? This was not planned.
Okay.
So in 2015, and I've told this story many times, but I hope it inspires many others because it's kind of unorthodox. My dad made a cheesecake. I was a painter and decorator at the time, so no experience in the F&B industry whatsoever. Never been to cake decorating school. Never been to catering college or anything like that. And my dad made a cheesecake one day. It was a no-bake cheesecake.
Okay.
So really easy entry into the baking world because you didn't have to be too precise with the measurements. Baking, obviously, you have to be a little bit more precise.
Yeah.
And he made it for Sunday lunch, after the dinner. And I thought, okay, I'm going to give that a go. Like, no intention to do anything with it. I'm just a foodie at heart. I love food, being brought up around great food. Always love being creative as well. So it was like, this is an opportunity to sort of combine the two. Food, being creative, bang, let's give it a go. And so I started making these cheesecakes. They were like the big cheesecakes, overloaded with like brands, and I would experiment with flavours, go to the supermarket and just create these overloaded cheesecakes and give them out to friends and family. And then I'd go back to my parents' kitchen where I was making these cheesecakes out of. And I'd make these little pots, and then I'd go to the building site with all the boys and I'd get them to try it and get feedback, and then go back to the supermarket and get different ingredients and just carry on experimenting. And I suppose throughout maybe a 2-year period, I was making these cheesecakes and giving them away for free.
Okay.
And they were kind of rubbish, right? Like they weren't very good. I couldn't even get the cake ring off the actual cheesecake or the base of the cheesecake. So I'd give away the cheesecake with the base on it and have to buy a new tin every single time.
Okay.
So really quite inefficient as a business model right at the start.
Okay, but I just want to pause to ask the question. So it's all born of you eating a cheesecake after Sunday lunch and thinking, I'm going to have a go.
Yeah.
But when you thought, I'm going to have a go, and you start taking it to the building site and getting the feedback, you are on a commercial journey already then. You're not like just getting feedback to like massage your ego as a cheesecake maker. It's about creating something, right?
I think the scale of that commercial journey was very small.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I got to a point in late 2016. And I had this notepad, and I've still got the notepad, and I speak about the notepad because I always refer to it. It's funny to look back on. And it's got a very basic business plan, and which is parallel to the intention of what I wanted to do. So I wanted to sell 4 or 5 cakes every single month to my local community as a bit of a side hustle, a bit of extra income to the side of my painting and decorating business. And so I went through that process. It was very, very basic. It wasn't thought out in any detail. It was just a notepad with the name Pleezecakes, some basic sort of concepts and avenues to drive, to distribute and whatever. I was going to sell them from the house and people would collect and whatever. Very, very basic business model. And so I set up an Instagram account. I created a logo on Canva, the design app, and I posted 6 photos. And there was no website, there was no email account. I had no production facility, no supply chain, no packaging, no recipes. They were just kind of like made to taste at this stage. No health and safety accreditations, nothing. Just an Instagram account and a few tins and bowls in my parents' kitchen. And then I posted these 6 photos, and then the rest is history, really. Like it was quite a mad journey from there.
Thank God for Instagram, right? Because creating something that is visually beautiful but all like sumptuous, and you want to eat what's in the photo. The food photos on Insta have obviously exploded and created so many brands. So do you think that kind of development in digital marketing and social media gives small brands the chance to be born these days that we didn't maybe have years ago?
It was then. So I think social media, again, is like a constantly changing landscape. Instagram, you could grow very, very organically back then. So that was 7 years, almost 8 years ago when I launched it. We were gaining followers like very quickly. The influencer marketing sort of scene was very current. Now it's very predictable and see-through and all that sort of stuff. So yes, Instagram was a great tool at the start of the business, and I spotted that straight away. I was like, this is I can reach the world and sell my product, albeit I couldn't actually distribute the product.
Yeah,
I could reach my brand, my message, and like you say, Instagram was all about visuals and building community. And I think the product that I launched was the big cakes, very visual, very very easy on the eye. And that is what built our community. Instagram has changed since then, and so has every other platform. TikTok's changed massively. We entered TikTok quite early on and grew quite quickly on that platform. And now it's changed. It's harder. It's less organic. But it's still a great tool. And I think you've always just got to stay sort of up with trends on these platforms. But I still think it's a great tool for small businesses to reach more. It's a free marketing platform, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the word that you used there, which I think is really key, is that thing about building community. Was there ever a moment where you panicked and you thought, oh my God, we're growing our community and our audience and people are engaging and they're loving it. How the hell are we going to keep up with actually producing and distributing this new product?
Yeah, I mean, I look back at this quite regularly in hindsight. I wish I'd waited, and I grew too quickly. Because I didn't plan this. It was a rubbish business at the start. I launched. I could sell direct to consumer. We bought a Freezecake. We bought a freezer van, a temperature controlled vehicle that we could service 50 miles within our kitchen facility. The Instagram and the social media was reaching people all across the country and further afield.
Yeah,
and I couldn't service them. And then things like we appeared on ITV This Morning a couple of times in that first year. We made a cake for the Queen. We did loads of stuff that generated loads of hype around the brand, and I couldn't service people. I didn't have a website that you could order through. It was all very manual. So all these little things that I missed at the start, or missed opportunities, were key and kind of slowed us down, put us back a couple of years. But all learning, right? So I learned quite a lot in those interim years, and yeah, it was tough but really exciting at the start. And so early on, I identified the product that we were producing. The big cakes weren't scalable; they were very delicate. We couldn't put them through a courier system because they'd get smashed up. And so I had to try and diversify the product range, make more robust products, make products that were easier to manufacture, and so these other products started coming into our range, and we started producing them and started scaling up in-house.
Okay, so again, let's wind back a bit, because you just casually throw out like, oh yeah, made a cheesecake for the Queen, and you're on This Morning. I mean, these are the biggest platforms in this country, and making something for the Queen, biggest radar opportunity in the world. So how do you go from I made a cheesecake after lunch one day to I'm making something for the Queen? How does the messaging of the brand get from your Instagram and your social media community to the royal household who are making the decisions about what she's going to be eating or what her guests are going to be eating?
It's a funny story, and it was a very surreal moment, and it was in June of 2017, and we're in this shared kitchen in Croydon. Like it's pretty grimy, it's pretty gnarly, And it's coming towards the end of the day. We'd made a load of cakes for like the general public, and we get this call. And it was from McVitie's, who, as you know, who McVitie's are. And they said, we got this VIP that we want you to make a cake for.
Nice.
And they went off and confirmed that. We said, well, yeah, we can do it. We don't know who it is. And they called back like 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. And they said, oh, it's the Queen. And we're like, what? Is this a joke? And so we had to rush out. We had to get... the cakes had to be fully McVitie's because McVitie's is by appointment to the royal family.
Yeah.
And so we made 2 cakes using only McVitie's products. We had to get clearance and security check to deliver into Clarence House the next day, basically.
Oh wow!
And it got picked up by media, and it's one of those moments in the journey that have stuck with us, and it's a defining moment, right? And so whether she ate it or not, we've got no pictures. She didn't allow us to get a picture for Instagram, but I'm sure someone ate it, right?
Yeah, I'm sure she tucked into a bit of that cheesecake. And were they specific about what flavour it needed to be?
No.
Okay.
No, it was quite just
free reign.
Just free reign. McVitie's products. I put some ice gems on there.
Oh,
some chocolate digestives, some rich teas, obviously.
Yeah. That's also nostalgic and British and so on brand.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
We have got pictures of the cakes, so
Okay.
I think they're somewhere. But I kind of made like a kind of a crown look out.
I would hope so.
Some of the biscuits.
It's got to be a nod to
yeah, it was a slight nod.
Her Majesty.
Made out of biscuit. But,
wow, what a moment. So the reason that I wanted to dig into those kind of moments is because sometimes, we're so busy doing the job and like living the brand and creating and looking ahead that we don't have the opportunity to look back. And from the outside, when we reflect on a success story, it's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking, oh, well, that's an overnight scenario. You were making a cheesecake at home and then the next minute you're making something for the Queen. But it's not an overnight success story. There are challenges, there are bumps in the road. Did you ever get to the point where you thought, why did I start doing this? It's running away with me and I can't keep up with it.
Yeah, every single day.
Okay.
Every single day there's been... I always struggle to articulate how hard it's been. Like, until... Everyone works hard and everyone's got their own lives and whatnot, but growing a business and sticking with it when there's millions of opportunities just to give up and just pack it in is something else. Is the feeling of sticking with something and the persistence of keeping going. And I'm working 22 hours a day. I'm getting into the kitchen at 1 o'clock in the morning, not getting home until like 10 o'clock at night, and 7 days a week for periods of time. And the business is on the brink of collapse. And I always think, like, I try and it's a 10 year, 10,000 hours, that kind of mentality that I've got. We're 7.5 years in. So for me, I've still got like 3.5 years until we get to stability in my mind. I think we've got a few more years until we get there. So I'm sticking with that, and I know how hard it is. And I think there's been many studies around success, and it's not education, and it's not network, and it's not where you live or you come from. The one thing is persistence. That is the one defining thing that makes success, right?
Yeah,
and I think
absolutely.
I don't know what it is or how I'm programmed, but I just keep going.
Yeah.
There's every day, every week, there's a challenge. There's something that could end the company, or that's mentally draining. And there's like my anxiety and the dark days. No one really sees that. I try and be vulnerable on social media and try and let people in and be very transparent. But there's many more that I don't put out there, right? And so it's tough. Like, growing a business is tough.
Yeah.
Really tough.
So it's all about tenacity, which I love.
I believe, yeah.
I just think that now there's a kind of tendency for people to see what they and it's all about perception, obviously. So I think that balance around being vulnerable and being authentic and real and all those things that we really want from brands and from the people behind the brands, the personality, the DNA of your brand, which is you, but also having that perception of success, maybe a bit ahead of time before you quite make it, and then actually kind of following up with that. But I think it's really brave to be so focused, and because this is pretty niche, right? But you're the first in the world, And you're going to be then world class and the best in the world. So pushing that and constantly pushing that.
Yeah, I think I've got this self-belief in the brand, and not only me, it's the people around us and the team and our friends and family that really believe in it. You know, I think that's really key here. And when you work at something day in, day out for years on end, you believe in it more and you understand. Not a lot of people see the work that goes into it and the pipeline that we've got and the people that we're speaking to and the opportunities that are just sitting in the background that haven't come to life yet. Mm-hmm. No one sees that. So these are the sort of things that keep us going, right? And so, and I love what I do. That's the main thing. I love what I do. I get up every day and I know that I'm going to enjoy the day, whether it's hard or not. I enjoy this industry. I enjoy the people that I work with. I enjoy everything about it. I enjoy the progress and the journey that I'm on. You know, it's not about, I haven't got like this end goal. It's not like I need to get to this and then I'm done. I literally enjoy the journey, and I understand that I work on this other motto or sort of ethos of like good days, bad days, right? So it's about like, I know there's going to be bad days. They're going to teach me lessons and I'm going to learn from them. And then these good days are going to come and I'm going to embrace it and it's going to be great. And I don't expect every single day to be a good day. So if I understand that and I've got that as a sort of my sort of North Star, then fine, you know?
Yeah. North Star is I think it's such an important concept in personal life and in business life. Something that just it's constant and it guides us and it's there and we keep following it. Also something that needs to be constant is the brand itself. So let's talk a little bit about the name. So it started as Pleesecakes.
Started as Pleesecakes, yeah.
And then 2023 rebrand to just Pleese, right? But the product itself, which is behind us here, they are Freezecakes.
Freezecakes, yeah. Okay.
So talk to me a little bit about the change and where the name came from and like where was the inspiration for that?
Pleesecakes was the first name. I've got it in that notebook that I referred to earlier, Pleesecakes, cheesecakes. It just kind of had this ring to it. That was the first thing that kind of stuck for a number of years. As we were growing, we started like developing the brand and the mission and the vision, and ultimately like we want to become a multi-product brand in multi-sector, multi-territory. And so we thought, like, it's not just about the cheesecake, it's desserts as a whole. So our mission is for people of all ages to share spectacular experiences with deliciously disruptive treats. And so by removing the cakes, it's like we're creating this overarching brand similar to like Cadbury's or these bigger other brands that have like their main brand, and then they'll have all these other subsidiaries and incredible things underneath that. And that's similar to what we've done. So Pleese is the holding company in the brand, and then like Freezecakes is one of them, and then Pleese Cakes will come back in, and then we've got some other products and concepts that will sit under the Pleese brand. So yeah, that was kind of the idea around it, but and it was actually one of my friends of mine, Ollie Horner, who's the co-founder of Hippies, which is like a snack brand. Yeah, it was his suggestion to change it, and actually another friend of mine, Dom Seymour, who does all the filming for Joe Wicks, was the person that came up with the name Freezecakes. Okay,
well, thanks to both of them, but obviously you got to have the product in the first place. Yeah, so
that was Freezecakes was an idea back in 2017. So as soon as I launched Pleesecakes, we were doing these big cheesecakes, I tried one of because we used to freeze them and send them out because of stability and they were more stable. And I tried one of them when they were frozen. I was like, this is quite good. Like just a frozen cheesecake. Yeah. It wasn't scoopable. It was a bit hard. Like the recipe needed developing. And a lot of people don't get the fact that this is a very unique recipe. You can't just bung a cheesecake in a tub and call it Freezecakes.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of development and it's hundreds of samples. Cool. But I tried it back in 2017. Initially, it was like a choc ice enrobed in chocolate kind of thing. And it got shelved for a number of years. We just didn't have the time. Other things took off. We were doing events and festivals and whatnot. And then lockdown happened. This just gave us an opportunity, a bit of space. We weren't doing events or festivals to introduce and develop a new product. And that's when we started working on Freezecakes.
Okay. And I mean, you mentioning festivals and events, I imagine it's the most fun to do all your activations because people probably just taste it and love it. We need to taste it, by the way.
Yes, do you want me to crack this open?
Yes, let's please.
We've got butterscotch and caramel here.
Oh God, this was my flavour choice, I have to say.
There is 3 flavours. We've got a double chocolate and a lemon and raspberry.
Am I allowed to ask what your favourite is, or is that like asking which is your favourite child?
No, mine is Mine is the double chocolate.
Okay, well, that's a classic.
You go first.
Okay, oh my God.
This is
Very
being delivered
excited.
directly from Go Puff.
Wow, I'm going to... See, I really want to put my spoon right in there and get loads, but I've actually got to speak on a mic, so...
Yeah, it does get
be
might not be
restrained.
good on the sound. I haven't actually had one of these for a while, to be fair.
Oh my God. Okay. First of all, the texture of that is exactly what you were just talking about. You've got water. You thought ahead. I have not.
Do you want me to get you some? I've got some water up here.
No, I'm all
Grab some if you
right.
want.
I'm all right. I have myself to blame. And I'm going to be eating more of that. But as soon as you eat that, I get the point that you were making. You can't just stuff a cheesecake in the freezer and get that consistency, that texture. But also immediately, it's not ice cream.
No, it's much denser. It's much denser than ice cream.
Yeah.
So it's actually 40% cream cheese.
Okay.
So it's not. You get a lot of cheesecake flavoured ice creams that are, I don't know what, 10, maybe even 1% cream cheese. You know?
Yeah.
And so this is 40% cream cheese across the range. There's one that's 36, one that's 40, whatever, close to. So it's quite a big percentage of the product that's cream cheese. Much denser, very challenging for a number of reasons to develop, because I went to ice cream manufacturers who could pot it, but they couldn't make the mix because it was too viscous, too thick.
Okay.
And then I went to frozen dessert manufacturers who could make the mix, but they couldn't pot it.
Okay. Oh my
So
God. Never think of these things.
Yeah. So obviously at that point I was trying to outsource production to scale up, and we had to install a completely bespoke production line for this product. You know.
So that again is all part of it having this unique DNA,
USP, yeah.
even and USP, but all of it, from the production to the taste to the marketing and the branding of it. What about the delicious biscuity base that we love in a cheesecake? So I see some sprinkling on the top there. Is that throughout the whole
That's throughout.
tub?
So you've got biscuits in all of them, obviously to represent. And then there's a sauce throughout as well.
Yeah.
So like this is butterscotch and caramel, so it's got a caramel sauce. The lemon's got a raspberry sauce through it, and the chocolate's just chocolate cheesecake, chocolate sauce, chocolate biscuit, chocolate flakes on top.
Okay. I mean, I'm very distracted now. I don't know if I can keep talking because I'm just now in a fantasy world thinking about all those flavours. Is there one that is the best seller?
Butterscotch and caramel is the best seller. So
Interesting.
butterscotch and caramel and lemon and raspberry across all the retailers and stockists that we provide are stocked in. The double chocolate is only in Waitrose and some independents, and on Go Puff now as well. Actually, it's just not in Co-op. But in times of years as well. So obviously butterscotch in the winter, and lemon and raspberry obviously summer. Perfect.
Yeah,
summer.
yeah. Lovely.
It's much lighter.
So you dropped some retail names there. Not in a braggy way, by the way, just very naturally.
Good.
But, yeah, well done. Let's talk about that, though. How you... what's the point of entry to even start the conversations with those kind of retailers? You mentioned Waitrose and Co-op, which I can see that this would be perfect for.
Yeah.
So how does that come about? I imagine that is quite a slog of work.
It's taken probably half the time the company's been going. So lockdown happened. We were making everything in house, and we couldn't really scale up or execute what we planned to do, which was enter retail, make the product more accessible. So we were selling direct to consumer solely, and a few other sort of smaller stockists. Selling a temperature controlled product direct to consumer is very complex. Dry ice, polystyrene boxes, high courier costs, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So we had to make the product more accessible. You can go to a retailer, pick up one tub, walk out. It's much easier. But you need distribution to reach economy of scale. So at that point, I knew I needed to outsource the production, mainly because of capacity and health and safety accreditations. To service the retailers, you need BRC, which is a big accreditation, and then you need the capacity to service these retailers. Both we didn't have. So I went on that process, and as mentioned before, trying to find a manufacturer was really, really challenging who could bring this product to life. And so we found a manufacturer in Belgium. So it's manufactured in Belgium. It was family owned, husband and wife, who are great, got behind the product, got behind the brand, really believed in it, and installed this bespoke production line for us. And it took a year or so for the machinery to come in. We went through maybe 400 or 500 samples to get it to this point alone. And I think I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so there's always improvements to make, and we're looking at the build up and adding different inclusions and new flavors and whatnot. But yes, so it launched in 2022, and it was we got to a point with the samples that they were good enough, and we were happy, and that they were kind of the final samples, kind of maybe pre-branding before we went through this rebrand. But then started reaching out to the retailers. So you'd target the frozen dessert buyer at Waitrose and Tesco's, and we actually presented to pretty much all of the retailers, and Waitrose and Co-op took it. And yeah, it's a retail is challenging, is the politest way to put it. And there's range review windows. So it's 2 range reviews a year: autumn, winter, spring, summer. And so you have to kind of plan your pitch and presentation to these retailers probably about a year in advance. So everything takes so long, right? So you're doing this outreach to the buyers. Some of it was inbound, but a lot of it was outreach. And you'd have to set up a presentation and bring your pitch and pitch the opportunity and present data and why you should put this product in and why you think it's going to improve the frozen dessert category, which is in decline across all of the retailers. And really sell your idea and product, right? And then they decide, and then you might have missed the range review, and then if you haven't, you go in on that range review, and then you've got to prove yourself, and you're up against these big brands, and it's cutthroat, and it's brutal. It's brutal. So that's one of our avenues that we're sort of really trying to scale up, and hopefully there's other more. We've got kind of an omni-channel approach. We want to maybe bring back D2C and food service and travel and whatnot. So. But retail is kind of the first port of call.
Yeah, which makes complete sense. And before we talk more about some of the pitfalls of retail, because there's something quite big going on at the moment, I just wanted to go back to something that you mentioned. You mentioned the husband and wife team who are producing the product for you in Belgium. I think I get the impression that looking after people and keeping your operation kind of on a personal and personable scale is quite important to you, and respecting and looking after all of those kind of aspects. Do you think that is going to be tricky to kind of maintain as you grow, or is it something that you'll always have your eye on? It'll always be a priority for you as a brand. As in people and relationships. Yeah, I think that very important. I think at the start, so it's something that I've spoken about previously as well. Like when you're a startup, you don't always have the luxury of having the ability to go through a really sort of vigorous hiring process. You have to just like hire just to like, we need to get this job done. We need to just bring on bodies, like boots on the ground kind of thing. So that's kind of what we did, and we hired fast and we grew quick, and I think like at one point we were at like 30 team members, and I was trying to learn on the job how to manage people and different personalities in different departments, and that was another massive challenge. And then because we've outsourced production, the business has completely changed. So we've got that facility to manufacture for us, and now we kind of work from home, we work remotely. The team's like under 5 people now. We're basically a sales and marketing team. We're obviously very heavily involved in the NPD of the product and the creative side of it and the brand, but it's so much easier now. Like, and I think at this stage, because we've got that capacity and the facility to produce, we can go through a bit more of a lengthy process to bring on the right people. And like you say, I really believe people are everything. Relationships are everything within business. If you haven't got that right, if you haven't got the right person on board, it can be very, very costly. So totally agree with that. I think going forward, it's something that I'll always keep a close eye on, and if they need to be the right fit for this brand and believe in our visions and align with our values. Yeah, absolutely. And also the other relationship that you also need to constantly be keeping an eye on and nurturing is the relationship with your community, in terms of brand language, your audience, if you like. And does it feel like you've kind of created a really loyal following now who are supporting you and championing you and kind of telling the world about how yummy everything is and sort of doing that for you?
It's quite scary at times, I think especially when we're in a vulnerable position, when something happens and we need a bit of help, or we just want to put out a message and relay our emotions and show a bit of vulnerability, they're like a little army. Like, we don't even ask them to do stuff, and they're off, and they're like, they're quite loyal. They're very, very loyal, and there's an incredible community. The different communities per platform, actually, because Instagram is our core community.
Yeah,
they've been with us, and they know us, and the way the platform works is our content will go out to our followers. TikTok's a bit different. It goes out to like the FYP, and none of those people know us, right, or know the brand. So it's a little bit challenging. You can get a bit more hate on that platform if something goes viral. And so the community has been built not only through the product, is through that vulnerability piece and the transparency that we put out there, and not always selling. And trying to bring value. You know, I think we do recipes and tutorials and business tips and tricks and inspiration or motivation, or I just share my personal life and my family and my daughter and just make it real, you know, like, and just sharing sort of snippets of that. And I think that's when people like people, right? People buy into people, and so being relatable is really key. And I don't do it in a way, a planned way, right? I'm not trying to do it to gain followers.
Yeah, it's not strategic.
No, yeah, exactly that. It's just I'm trying to be me, right, and share my story, share my journey, and I really hope that telling that story and sharing my life a little bit helps others. I'm a painter and decorator with no qualifications. I dropped out of school at 16. I'm building a brand and business. I've got some incredible people around me. We're in retail. We're scaling up. Like, it's kind of like a nice little story. It's not too pretentious, and like, I just hope it helps someone, and so that's why I do it.
Yeah. And I'm always banging on in these podcasts and just in life in general about the fact that humans connect with humans. Whatever your message is, whatever your product is, whatever platforms or channels you're going through to tell your story, if you like, we're just all human beings. And if we talk some kind of common language, then we're going to connect at some level with people.
Yeah, so, I totally agree.
Yeah, I think it's a really important part of building a brand. And if you do it almost unconsciously and organically, as you've just been saying.
Yeah, that's the right word, actually. I'm trying to find those words.
That's, I'm a PR. So.
Yeah.
But I also think sometimes it takes an outside objective person to comment on that and say, actually, you're doing a really bloody good job because of all of those factors. And for you, it's just like the air that you breathe. You do it every day. Yeah. So maybe you don't even realise you're doing it. So kudos anyway for that. I think it's more difficult than people realise to build something authentic without thinking, I'm going to build something authentic, because then by its very nature, it is not that.
That's come into play a bit like the personal branding thing for a lot of people, which I think is really key. Personal branding is really key, but people are using that as a tool to try and be authentic and try and sell something off the back of that personal brand, you know, which it does work. Like, you see these big influencers that do it, but it's a balance, you know. You need to get it right, otherwise you can come unstuck at some point. I think. Yeah. People catch you out at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we as an audience, as a consumer base, we've got a bit more going on up here than some brands and some influencers think that we have, and we do see through things. Okay, so we've talked about this amazing journey and this amazing story of building a brand which is very true to you, and it's intrinsically yours. And now you get to the point where you're stocked in these amazing retailers, you're doing brilliantly, but you almost become like a victim of your own success through one of these retailers, who, in fact, I don't know if you'd had a conversation with them about stocking your brand before this happened.
We did, yeah. Okay,
so that's part of the story. They say that imitation is the highest form of flattery, but it's also a legal nightmare when somebody rips off what you're doing. So I'm not naming the retailer. You're very welcome to. Okay. We have heard a few similar stories about this kind of issue. But basically, you're effectively a product that looks exactly like yours with the same name, even the same tagline, "It's not ice cream." It's sitting on these supermarket frozen shelves, and it is not a Pleese product. Tell us what's happening.
Okay, so
as much as you can.
I do as much as I can. Yeah. So first off, we've spoken to Aldi before. I've spoken to all the retailers, right, about stocking the product. sometimes the conversations fizzle out. The commercials you can't get down to because they're discounters, or there's variables that contribute to not getting listed right sometimes. And so that fizzled out. That was like maybe a year ago, before we actually launched in the retailers. And so the year goes by, and very recently, I think only 3 weeks ago, we start getting tagged in this photo. And I always knew that Own Label was going to come out.
Yeah.
So Own Label is great for a number of reasons. Number one, it's good competition. Like, that builds the awareness around the product. Mm-hmm. It also builds the category. So you've got, if you, especially in frozen dessert. So frozen dessert is a category in decline. So it's not growing across all of the retailers. It's shopped seasonally. So all the sales come at Christmas time predominantly. It's shopped by an older demographic. Like, there's so many things that are fairly negative around the category. It's very dated. There's not a lot of innovation or newness in the category. There's some real sort of like heritage established brands. Your Viennettas, your Jam Roly.
What was in my head the whole time?
Yeah,
when you were saying
like they're there and they'll stay there, and that's fine. But let's shake it up a little bit. Let's introduce something a little bit exciting. Offer something completely different. Bring a new demographic into the category. Create all year round sales. Let's grow it again. And so Own Label will help do that.
Yeah.
And so we knew that was going to happen. It's the fact that they're very similar in they're exactly the same in flavour, and like you alluded to, it was the name Freezecakes, and the tagline, it's not ice cream. And it's not ice cream, it's not just on our packaging, it's on everything we do, right? So it's on our hashtags across every social platform that we use from launch, which was in 2020 for the product, marketing material, emails, everything we do, like, we've used that phrase for a long time. It's not just like a coincidence that they've used this phrase. And so apparently, this hasn't been the closeness or the obvious trademark infringements haven't been seen before. You know, Audi are really good at producing these copycat products and tiptoeing around the legal side of things, which I'm sure they're very good at. But we haven't seen a case like this where it's like for like, you know.
Yeah, it's a copy and paste situation. It's not even like, let's look at the template and then tweak it around and be a bit clever about it and make it our own.
Yeah.
You mentioned the flavours. So you're saying that are they the exact flavour combinations?
They've got butterscotch and caramel, and they've got lemon and raspberry.
Ooh, I mean, bring a strawberry one to the shelf. Do something. Wow.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know. Like I said, they're normally quite good at like getting there or thereabouts, like close wise, you know. But this is like a like for like, you know. We put out this message, and I was quite diplomatic and quite vocal about the fact that I really believe that we're not trying to go after Audi, and we're not. We believe in growing the category. What we don't want is the category to be hijacked.
Yes.
And by copying so obviously, we felt that was a bit of a hijack. So I don't know how good that's going to be for the category. And it's created a bit of a media frenzy, and there's lots of people talking about it. And just by putting out a bit of video and content that Dan created, where it's like nearly 2 million views across the platform, and like a crazy amount of watch time, and like people have really engaged with it 100% organically. Yeah. And it just shows the strength in community.
Absolutely.
And a few haters.
Yeah, naturally.
And the fact that we're the little guys, you know, we're a very small team, and Audi are a group, a conglomerate of 46,000 or 47,000 people. And it just felt a bit unfair, you know, a bit of a attack. And that, we're not the only case, you know, this happens all the time. So we're here to stand up and support small businesses. Yeah. We've always done it. It's not the first time we've stood up. We always shout out other small businesses and support them and talk about them and spotlight them and whatever we can do, because we really believe in that. We're a small business ourselves, and I don't think that will ever change. We always want to support that startup culture, you know. That's what inspires entrepreneurs. Yeah. If we didn't have startup, I think that would be a really sad thing. I think they contribute to the economy so much, you know. So we're standing our ground a little bit. We're going through a process now. It's a bit of a process. I don't know the outcome.
No, absolutely.
We're in conversation. We're not at a solution. This is obviously a very recent conversation.
That's why I was a bit like
hot topic kind
trepidatious about bringing it up, because I wouldn't want to jeopardise any of the legal process that you're going through. But I think what you're doing, obviously you're talking about flying the flag and championing the small businesses, but for me it's beyond that as a brand, because you have disrupted, you are the originator, you are the creators of this, of a category in itself. You are the world's first frozen cheesecake, right? Let's not leave that behind. That is really key and central. And that's kind of the rug is being little bit pulled from beneath you, but you're standing firm and you're not going to let that happen.
Well, it highlights the fact that we're disrupting a category.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's the key message here, right?
Yeah.
So they'll always copy these bigger brands, the Colin the Caterpillars and the Nutellas and Ferrero and Brewdog, and these are big brands that have been around and established and got proof of concept, proof of sales, proof of performance. They know, okay, let's just copy these. We know they're going to sell through because
guaranteed sellers. Yeah,
guaranteed sellers, right? But for them to copy like a tiny little brand that only released a year ago into retail shows there's like we're setting a trend here. Maybe it's a category that a lot of people are going after. It's a less competitive category. Let's copy them. Let's see what we can do here. And so there are positives out of it, but there are some not so positive.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I do think fundamentally it's hugely flattering, because it shows that you've created something successful, that there's a market for it, there's an audience for it, and there's demand for it. But as you just alluded to, we don't know what's going to happen next. So I would love to know. I mean, do you know? Is there like a rough timeline as to how long this whole process will take? Can you get those tubs taken off the shelves? You might not be able to answer that.
Based on my knowledge and what there's various comments on social media, it's not on sale at the moment.
Interesting.
That's not official from either side, from Pleese or from Aldi. But based on my knowledge, people have been going in. It's on some shelves. You can pick it up, but then when you get to the till, you can't buy it.
Okay. Oh, intriguing. I feel like we're going to leave a ... TB to be continued.
TBC,
yeah, absolutely.
In terms of timelines, though, there isn't one. Like I think we are in conversation with the Audi team directly, and it's kind of, that's kind of where it's at, and it's kind of it's probably going to be a bit of a backwards and forwards discussion at this stage, and to get to a solution, and like I say, hopefully a positive one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really hope that there's a positive outcome for this for all involved.
Yeah.
But I hope we don't just get pushed aside and like they're the small people.
Yeah.
See that kind of thing. So.
I have a feeling that your spirit in this is gonna come through. Obviously we don't want to jeopardise anything, so we just cross our fingers and we will be supporting in the background.
Thank you.
Regardless of the, let's call it scandalously, the Aldi hijacking situation, what is next for the brand? Like if that bump in the road hadn't come along, can you tell me about that, or do we just have to wait and see?
For us as a brand, and that hasn't changed since what's happened, is increased distribution, make the product more accessible. So we've just recently launched on GoPath. We want to get some more retailers on board, hopefully, and off the back of this they might see the trend and want to list it, hopefully. Increase our territory, so we're looking at some retailers in Europe and further afield to launch into. New formats, so we're looking at a smaller tub, different industries and sectors, and then there'll be some MPD and new products that outside of Freezecakes will be those other concepts under the Pleese brand that maybe sit in different category as well.
Okay.
Which is in development actually, and we're quite close to finalising that, albeit that won't release till probably 2025.
Okay.
Because again, custom machinery.
Yeah.
We're trying to be innovative and a bit different, and it's not just going to be something that's on the shelf already. So new products, new territories, bigger expansion in terms of distribution. So we're redeveloping these products a little bit as well, and just always just keeping the progress and sort of forward motion going.
Mm-hmm. So effectively just looking towards something small like world domination for Pleese as a brand.
Yeah, wasn't going to put it that way because that was
Manageable.
a bit aggressive. But yeah, kind of, global domination. We want to grow a global brand that's a household name that we can sort of intertwine our story with, and really, I think that's really key. And there's some other brands that do that really well. You know, they're a huge brand, but they feel like quite a small brand at the same time. And I think that's kind of where we want to get to, and just produce quality, innovative, exciting dessert products that create a new occasion. Like, this is a completely new occasion for eating cheesecake. Historically, it's a big cheesecake, birthday celebration, anniversary, whatever it is. You can't really have that on a Tuesday night, can you? Tub of Freezecakes, Tuesday night on the sofa, Netflix and chill.
Yeah.
Bit of cheesecake, pop it back in the freezer, no waste, less space. You're kind of like, this completely new occasion here for cheesecakes, and that's what we want to do. We want to be known for that kind of thing.
Well, as much as I could talk to you for the rest of the week about this, I'm actually quite desperate to finish that tub that's right in front of me.
You've got to try the other two flavours as well.
So, Joe, thank you so much for coming on to The Secret To, telling us about your journey personally and as a brand. And we're going to be looking out for Freezecakes on the shelf that are actually under the Pleese brand, and we will be buying those and championing those.
No dupes.
No, absolutely not. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.